I'm Dr. Revels, and you're listening to the REVELSations podcast. We're all family and friends here, so you can call me Rev. Since we're all family and friends here, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcasts, and share this with somebody else and let them know you're listening to the REVELSations podcast. The topic of today's verse is perception versus reality. Perception versus reality. It is said that perception is reality, and that is an expression that means what someone perceives to be true or is their truth, regardless of whether it is accurate. Well, we know on the REVELSations podcast that doesn't work for us. We like true dictionary definitions. So let's get into some definitions so we're all here on the same page. Perception. Perception is a belief or opinion often held by a person that is based on how things seem to be. How things seem to be. Notice it didn't say based on how things are. Seem to be is how we perceive them. Perceive them means by our experiences, how we take them in physically, and how we process in our brain the experience that we just had. So perception is a belief or an opinion based on how things seem to be. Let's get to reality. Reality is the quality of state of being real, something that is real. Reality means the world or state of things that as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or perception of them, as opposed to an ideal or perception of them. So if perception is reality, what someone perceives to be true is their truth, regardless of whether it is accurate or not. We have a conflict on how can perception be reality. Okay, let's get into it. I have been told in my life that I am tall. I have been told in my life that I am short. Okay, how can one group of people or a couple people say that I am tall and another group of people say that I'm short? Well, let's dig into it. I've been called tall more over the last 3 to 4 years of my life than I ever have been called tall before. Why is that? I have been in South America, and in South America, I am considered a tall human, a tall person. Why is that? Because most of the people here are shorter than me. Most of the people here are short, both men and women. I'm not the tallest person in South America by any stretch, but I'm taller than most. I'm taller than an overwhelming majority of people. So I am tall. But I've played a lot of basketball in my life, a lot. I've traveled many places playing basketball, many countries playing basketball. And on the basketball court, I'm considered short. So how is it that I could be both tall and be short? It is based on those who are perceiving me with their senses and based on their experiences. But what is the reality? Is the reality that I am tall or that I am short? In reality, I'm just my height. My height is my height. And then people perceive it and people treat me how they want to treat me based on how they perceive me to be. But that does not mean that it is reality. So in your life, think about the perceptions you have that are not reality. Think about the perceptions people have of you that are not reality. These perceptions are how terrible things happen in this world. How racism happens, sexism happens, fascism happens. This is all through perception. This is all through someone perceiving something to be true, regardless of whether it is accurate. But the problem with that is this, that true is something that is based on fact and reality. So if true is based on fact and reality, how can then perception be real? How can perception then be true regardless of its truth or accuracy? And remember, accuracy means correct in all details. It is exact. It is a fact. True and accurate are synonymous. They work together. So we're perceiving something and we're believing and we're pretending and we're acting and we're basing our lives on it being true, even though it may not be true. We're treating other people in good ways or bad ways based on our perception and not reality. And what is reality? Reality is what it is, regardless of our judgment. And our judgment is our perception, regardless on what we think it is. Now, I'm not telling you that your perception is wrong. I think oftentimes perception can help us. I think perception can help us. Perception can help us love people, just like perception assist people in hating with racism. I think all people of a particular skin color are like this. That's how you perceive them to be, but not all people of color or not all people who are white or whatever are bad or good. Right? Like no one's a monolith. No group of people is a monolith. They all think, speak, talk, and act the same way and think the same things. So this is how racism is a problem. This is how sexism is a problem. All women are this way. All men are that way. Well, wait a minute. Let's slow down and think about that, right? That is our perception based on our experiences and oftentimes based on our hurt. But I said a moment ago that perception can be a good thing. And perception can help us love. It does. It helps us love our kids. For those of you who have kids, I'm in the education space. Perception helps me, right? Parents oftentimes think their kid is an angel. In some ways, that's a good thing because that means you're going to love them regardless of what they do. You're going to be there for them regardless of what they do. But the reality is your child is not an angel. Trust me, I know as somebody who works with your child. But I perceive that child as somebody who can be better. But the reality is, I don't know if they can be better or not. The reality is, we know that your child isn't an angel, but our perception of the child allows us to continue to work with the child and pour the best that we can into the child. So all perception isn't bad, but we have to know that perception isn't necessarily real. The child is neither an angel, nor is the child a hellion. It's just how we perceive it to be. I'm neither tall, I'm neither short. I am just my height. And the judgment we put on my height, the judgment we put on the child. Let's go a little deeper. In the dating space, I'm not a married man. So in the dating space, we single folks, we meet people, and you're married people, you can attest to this as well. And we want something. We want a partner. We want a boyfriend. We want a girlfriend. We want a husband. We want a wife. We want a partner. And we have in our head what we want our partner to be, what we want them to do, what we want them to look like, the qualities we want them to have. And then we meet someone and we begin to try to see the qualities in that person. And oftentimes that person doesn't have those qualities, but our perception says that they do. And we begin to want them to be what we want them to be instead of looking at reality and saying, you know what, this isn't necessarily best for me, or this isn't necessarily the person I want. And more importantly, am I the person that they want? So we begin to take things for our perception instead of what they actually are. And in the dating space, I would say we should probably take things as they are, not as how we want them to be. Okay, we need to look at the reality of a situation, step back and look at it. Now, the reality doesn't mean that we will throw the person away, but the reality will mean that we can walk into any situation, dating or otherwise, with our eyes wide open and say, you know what, this person isn't the greatest of all time. They do have flaws, but I'm going to love and be with them anyway. I think we get in trouble when we perceive it to be what it is not. And then we begin to cast judgments, either good or bad, and we begin to develop biases either for or against a particular person or a particular group of people. And that's where we get into trouble. So perception is reality, is wrong. Perception is not reality. Reality is what it is, but we perceive things to be what they are not. Remember, perception is based on a belief and an opinion that is based on how things seem to be, not how things are. That's not always a bad thing, but it's not always a good thing either. And I'm just asking us to strike a balance between the two. So look at your life. Do you have some things that you perceive? Are you letting them be reality and you're letting them rule and control your life based on what you believe is real? And that is called perception, or what is really real, and that is called reality. Thanks for listening again to the REVELSations podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You just listened to another verse of the REVELSations podcast. I am because we are. Hallelujah, holla back. Peace.
Yeah, the revelations now televised. A platform for you and I. An outlook with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel with these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. REVELSations.